apartment. It's like, I just love lemons. And everyone gives us lemons, and I love lemons so much.
Test.
They,
Okay.
they're good for the alkaline.
Yeah.
It makes your body more alkaline.
Keep you more alkaline.
And that keeps disease out.
Awesome.
We used to call it electrician's
Cozy group tonight.
Are you streaming?
I'm watching, but it says it's waiting for Scout or showing people's feelings.
It's waiting for what?
Waiting for Shannon.
Oh, really?
Uh-oh.
Or it goes.
Waiting for me.
Oh,
I hear it now,
good
yeah.
sound. Oh, outstanding. You do the whole thing now.
You should eat some
I was eating crackers.
crackers. You need some.
I found some cans.
Crackers. So what do you think?
Okay. So, but it's we're live, right? Okay.
I like English muffins.
So I can. What I'll do is run this through the TV at some point, maybe next week, so that you can tell me what questions
Oh,
they're asking, that kind of thing.
Mm-hmm.
Great. Hey, Mark, how are
There's a
you?
little bit of a delay.
Long time no see.
Yeah, it's been. I didn't see it.
Yeah.
Hello, James.
Can you see who's streaming?
Well, James Pollock from Canada, I think he's from Alberta, just said hello. Hey, Mark. How are you? Where were you last week?
Oh, no.
Be accountable.
Wouldn't that be funny?
Where were you last week?
That's my sister's birthday.
They have it.
Aw.
Oh, that's a good cause.
It is.
Okay.
Yeah, it's a little.
Say hi to the girls.
So, Anne Marie
Anne-Marie and Amy.
and
Hi,
Amy.
girls.
Yeah,
Girls in my group.
I don't see anything yet, but. And Joe's son Joe from Boston. Hopefully he's staying tuned. Maybe people aren't on yet, so we'll say hi to everybody a little bit as we go on too. Again, so welcome everyone. I said hi to Joe, but I don't know if he's on yet. So let's see, who was here last night? There's two returners from last night. We did the direct pointing, so very brave to come back 2 nights in a row. Thank you. Yeah. And I thought it was fun last night. I really enjoyed it. So thank you for coming to that, and thank you for coming tonight. Does it feel okay in here? The air or lack of air? You know. Yeah. Turn the fan on. So that probably sounds funny from people from different parts of the country that might be watching the stream, that we have to have our fans on because it's like 85 degrees. Was it like 85 degrees today, something like that?
80. I thought it was 80.
Yeah, it's beautiful out, I thought.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's why we're here. But we'll suffer later. So, once again, let's see. Yeah, Anne Marie is on, so thank you for tuning in.
Hi, Anne-Marie.
Hi, Anne Marie.
Everybody says hi to Anne Marie, and we'll just see who else comes up. So we're trying to watch the chat, but more importantly, we want to meditate, and I would like to do something a little bit different tonight. A little bit different, just a little different. You know, obviously, we're here for the reason that you know, meditation is beneficial for us. We might be just curious about meditation, and you know, so we're checking it out. But for a lot of us, we've been coming here a lot, and some of us are, we meditate daily, hopefully, or consistently, and so we know that there's benefits, right? There are certain benefits that of meditation, and when we talk about the benefits, sometimes we can talk scientifically, physically, mentally, just from a standpoint of being healthier in many different ways, as a stress reduction or whatever it might be. I don't want to feed you too many ideas because that's what I'm leading up to. I would like to have everybody just say your first name if you like, and maybe what your favorite benefit of meditation is, just to kind of remind everybody else, and try not to repeat what somebody else said. So the people that start first get the advantage. So we'll start back there. We'll start.
I have the advantage.
Yeah, super advantage.
I am Chris. Yeah, it's just a matter of noticing what's going on inside me. So, and the thing that you tell us how you feel kind of thing. And I tell you, I've been feeling, although I don't show it, I don't think, I'm kind of anxious, and I've got this feeling that things are going to go wrong a little bit, and I've talked about that a little bit. I had some losses last week, family member and that kind of thing, and and it kind of went away, but now it seems to be back anyway.
Yeah.
So being able to stay more aware
Yeah.
of my thoughts and
Yeah.
emotions.
That's a good thing to watch, and it comes up in meditation, and that's, that is one of the huge benefits of meditation, is that we can better ourselves through observation, make our world more, more flowing, I guess we could say. It works better. Yeah, thank you, Chris.
Hi, I'm Betty, and I enjoy being able to be present and in the moment, and to really, get into my breathing,
Yeah,
and to
yeah,
let it do for me what it needs to do.
yeah, wonderful. Yeah, being present and in the moment is what it is. Yeah.
Joe, to be able to observe my thoughts and to see, I've been practicing a little bit more with intent
Mm-hmm.
and purpose recently, and seeing how I cause my own suffering, and how that chain reaction can be broken by simply just being aware of that's what those thoughts are thinking.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And following the concentrated practice brings me back into myself, so that I can feel all these things as they're flowing through my body. And most recently, that's been a very good thing for me.
Yeah. To be the silent observer.
Correct.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Wonderful. Thanks, Joe.
Hi, I'm Beth.
Beth.
I like it quieting my mind, the breathing.
Yeah.
As long as I'm not counting my airplanes. And I too strive to stay present.
Wonderful.
So that's it. Thank you.
That's enough. To be present and to follow the breath, be calm.
I'm Jeff. I don't want to repeat what other people said, so I think that to sum it up, the biggest benefit I've seen is I'm less emotionally reactive.
Yeah. Yeah. That's a good one. You probably stole a lot of people's idea when you hit that one. Yeah, that's good.
My name's Adam, and I think, especially when I'm at work and stuff, it really shows my practice, because it's easy to be meditative and silent when you're sitting on a cushion, but when you're at work and dealing with all the stress and people, it's definitely helps that. So.
Yeah. Excellent.
My name is Matthew. Probably the biggest thing meditation has done for me is given me compassion for myself and for other people that I didn't used to have. So.
Yeah, excellent. Yeah, when we have compassion for ourselves or loving kindness for ourselves, it has to go to other people. You know, we have to start with ourselves, right? So then we can expand upon that. So great.
My name's Paul, and I think with me it's the ability to control the mind and not let the mind control me.
Mm.
For a long period of my life, my mind controlled me. And if I thought something, I would react like we just said.
Mm-hmm.
But to switch that relationship where the mind doesn't control the way I act, the way I treat people, the way I do things anymore, it's the biggest.
Excellent.
Yeah.
Great, thank you.
I'm Terry, and what everybody said. And
Plus.
to say something that maybe a little bit different, the understanding of the hindrances or the thought patterns, to have been able to pinpoint that in my life, my mind, I never really go into the past with regrets or anger. I always kind of hover in the future in the worry zone, and meditating has really made me very, very aware of where my thoughts go. And of course you carry that off the cushion too, and that's helped me to mitigate a lot of that. Some of it. A little bit.
Mitigate?
Mitigate.
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 Mitigate. That's a good word.
Thank you.
I'll have to remember that one.
It's a legal term.
Mitigate with an M.
Mitigate.
Oh, yeah,
Mitigate.
yeah.
Mitigate. Mitigate. And you just said
Medicate.
medicate.
That was in the past.
And it's
Yeah.
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 Thank you. Thank you, Terry.
I'm Mark, and I would say the greatest benefit is the enlightenment.
Yeah.
Mark.
No, I
Yeah.
would say
Who wouldn't want that?
It's a
You
better
know?
improved relationship with the cats.
yeah, the total enlightenment's the best part, but
Anything else?
no, I'm just kidding.
For those who can't see, Mark's currently levitating.
Yeah, for you people streaming, Mark is like this far off the cushion. So, yeah.
I find myself not following negative thoughts like I used to, where I would have a negative thought and I would spend hours thinking
Yeah.
about it. Now I kind of cut it off.
Yeah. You can see it, you know, before you become reactive to it, and I guess. And, yeah, wonderful. Yeah, there's so many benefits. Usually what most of us touched on were the psychological, aspect in a way. And that's usually what people refer to. But, as far, when we look at it just from the point of being a stress reducer, it's huge. I mean, it can really affect our physicality as well, not just mentally, but physically. And we probably enjoy life more. We probably actually live longer. There's lots of studies, particularly from the people from the TM area, Transcendental Meditation. They took in a lot of revenue, and they use that revenue for studies and stuff like that. So if you ever want to look up, detailed information on the benefits of meditation, you can look it up from the standpoint of, going on the internet and checking out the TM studies and what they've done. It's very interesting. But they're just so numerous to really respond about all the benefits, because even the neurological benefits are just huge. The entire brain benefits by meditation. You can go and look and see what are the benefits to the brain of meditation in the area of the frontal cortex, and they'll tell you. But then they can tell you every other part of the brain too. How it benefits it. So it's amazing. And one thing that we have to remember: the benefits are oftentimes very subtle, but meditation works. I mean, it is very, very much, a key factor in many people's lives, and I'm sure, for everyone here. It takes a little while. We can all relate to that. We sat down for weeks and weeks and thought, wow, I thought this was going to really be easy for one, and I thought it was going to really benefit me. And maybe we didn't see those benefits as fast as we thought we would. but surely we have seen them eventually. So, and it's like anything worth, anything beneficial is worth waiting for, and that's true with meditation. So it's like a process, but it's very, it's a very, for me, it has always been a wonderful process, meditation. So who else do we have here? I want to say hi to a couple people that just tuned in. Amy.
Hi, Amy.
Hey, Amy.
Hi, Amy. Everybody says hi, Amy. And again, James Pollock and Anne-Marie. That's all that's coming up right now. But there's some other ones in the limelight. But so we will do, like I guess it's about like a 35-minute meditation. And as normal, I will guide us through the first, 10, 15 minutes. And then we will have a great deal of silence, and I always feel that is the most beneficial aspect, or the most beneficial part of the meditation, is the silence. I hope everybody here agrees with that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So please make yourself comfortable, and if you need another cushion, by all means grab one. There's some laying around. Just feel free to do whatever it takes to be comfortable. Go ahead and close your eyes. Bring your attention to the body. Notice how it feels to finally get a chance to relax, perhaps, for the first time today for many of us. Just see if you feel balanced in your posture. Back fairly straight. Sometimes it's beneficial to wiggle back and forth or side to side a little bit, and just kind of see if you are actually balanced, because if not, then there's a certain group of muscles that are either trying to hold you up or trying to pull you down. So we want to find that balance within the body. And of course, meditation is all about balance. And the Buddha even pointed this out by his teachings on the middle way. Not too much of this and not too little bit of that. Not to push too hard, but not to be too forgiving, and that is in relation to our practice. We want to apply intention, and we want to be gentle with ourselves at the same time. And we can find that balance within the body. If the balance is found in the body, it oftentimes relates to the balancing of the mind. Now, how wonderful to find us in between likes and dislikes and rights and wrongs, between good and bad, love and hate. And these are the types of things that we can look for in meditation. When we talked of the benefits of meditation, we talked about observing, being the witness of thoughts, being the witness of feelings and states. And this is our opportunity, because in meditation, when we focus on our meditation object, and for many of us that's the breath, when we have that very gentle focus our thoughts, eventually the thinking process slows down, and we get a chance to watch and monitor all of this. We get a chance to appreciate even the function of the mind, how wonderful to be able to appreciate the thoughts we have rather than allowing them to do harm to us in certain ways, to drive us crazy, so to speak. So we can use these thoughts, and we can use the activity of the mind as a tool. And we can find, the means and the way to do that through our meditation practice by observation. But first we have to calm things down, as mentioned, so we bring our attention to meditation object. And for myself, and I think many of you, it is the breath. And we might pick up on the breath at the tip of the nose. Might notice the rhythm of the breathing, you feel it within the body, in the lungs, or the windpipe, or something like this. Wherever we feel connected to and with the breath, that's where we should lie our attention and our awareness. And if we're using the breath, it can become very sweet and really be a friend for us. Because it is a very, very useful tool, and when we find that it works, we kind of build a relationship with the breath. It becomes easy. Focusing on the breath, if we notice the thoughts, we notice that they sometimes seem very internal, like they're a part of this machine, this operation called the body. So we have this body-mind mechanism, and sometimes we seems as if our thoughts are out there, like they're more out in the world, like they're reaching out, like the other senses, the seeing and the hearing. Of course, in reality, we're always connected with all of this. But sometimes we can seemingly daydream and get lost in thought, where the thoughts are just kind of going out and not necessarily having any purpose. And sometimes they can go into the future as if we're trying to constantly fix something. Many times they'll go into the past, kind of reminding us of what we should or shouldn't have done. But if we remain focused, even a little bit, on our meditation object, most of this activity will hopefully subside, or at least slow down, without our even trying to do it. It's just by awareness and focus. Might be the coolness of the breath as it comes in, or the warmth of the breath as it leaves, the movement of the stomach. Some of us like to count the breaths, especially when the mind is very, very active. All these techniques are fine. It's just making the breath a little bit more interesting. So we sit and concentrate and focus on the breath. We don't want to manipulate the breath or change anything for that matter. We're not really here to fix anything, but we're allowing the awareness to do the fixing without us intentionally trying to fix, because that would simply cause striving. And striving is suffering, and that's something that we're not interested in at this moment while we're meditating. We focus on the breath. We notice that the mind, in certain ways, possibly by thinking, the thought process, has a tendency to pull us away from the breath. But again, our intention is to focus and stay with the breath. So we notice that the mind is not doing that intended work. And so we gently bring our attention back after realizing that it's not focused. And when we keep doing this consistently, the mind has a tendency to give up the fight. It gives in and says, okay, now let's just sit here quietly. Sit here and get along. A bit more truthfully, we just sit in this presence, this stillness, and observe who we truly are beyond the thinking mind. And so we don't get lost in thought, and we don't identify with the thoughts. And we give up that identification. The thinking can still continue if it wants, but it won't harm us. It won't bother us. And then we realize that everything really is okay. Everything is fine. Everything is just the way it's supposed to be in this moment. Maybe we want to take a little deeper than normal inhalation of the breath and bring some energy into the body. Bring ourselves back to this room. Thank you. If you have one of these cards, this is the Loving Kindness Sutra. This is something we've been reciting for about 8 years, I think. And it's a sutra from the Theravada Buddhist tradition. And the idea is to focus on the words and the meaning of them. So we will recite this together. And then Mark will do the Pali. To attain the state of peace, one skilled in goodness should be able, upright, perfectly upright, gentle in speech, kind, and free from pride, contented, easily satisfied, with limited duties and unburdened livelihood, controlled in senses, discreet, reserved, not blindly attached to groups. One should not commit the slightest wrong, that the wise might censor, wishing, may there be happiness and security, may all beings be happy. Whatever beings there are, whether feeble or strong, tall or short, medium and small, microscopic or none, leaving none, seen or unseen, living near or far away, born or to be born, may all beings be happy. Let one not deceive another, nor despise anyone anywhere, neither in anger nor in ill will should one wish another harm. Just as a mother would risk her own life to protect her only child, even so one should cultivate a limitless concern for all living beings. Extend loving kindness throughout the world, without limitation, above, below, and across, free of obstruction, enmity, or hostility. Whether standing, walking, sitting, or lying down, one should diligently sustain this mindfulness. This is called sublime living. Without holding narrow views, but being endowed with a broad vision, and avoiding attachment to sense desires, the virtuous are not born again into this world. May each one of us and all beings be well, happy, and peaceful. May no harm come to us, may no difficulties come to us, and may we all meet with spiritual and worldly success, and may we have the patience, courage, and the understanding to meet and overcome any problems or any difficulties that we might face in life. Thank you all. A very nice, quiet meditation tonight. There wasn't many outside sounds happening. And I guess this room is good for that. But if anybody had a meditation experience that they like to share, anything like that, by all means, feel free to do so. And you people that haven't been here before, we just set aside a few moments, in this case 25 moments, in increments of minutes, to share and talk a little bit about meditation, or actually whatever we want to talk about. It usually is meditation or something related to it. Some modality related to meditation or meditation itself. And I'd like to, so if you ever have any questions, just, bring it up, anything at any time, while we kind of conclude here. but I'd like to, something kind of came up in meditation for me that it just kind of played out. It wasn't a thought process. It wasn't cognition or anything like that. It was had to do with an analogy that we use it a lot, but we used it last night in direct pointing. But the analogy of water, and like when Terry and I meditate in the morning at our house, we always have the sound of water on the Insight Timer app, and it really helps drown out any distant barking dog or anything like that. And there's not really too much problems with the sounds, but it does that sound of water is very nice. The running water like a stream or something. And the analogy of water can be used in many different ways. Last night we used it, the unconditioned unconditioned as the ocean, and the wave as awareness that comes out of that ocean. The ocean being abundant and being there all the time, and the wave is coming out from that. And tonight what came to mind was how our mind, when it's really free, like it can be in meditation, that it really doesn't have any disposition or intention, like water, like a drop of water that falls from the sky. It doesn't say, well, I'm going to fall down. Well, at least I don't think it does. I'm going to fall down and nourish that tomato plant down there because it needs some water. It doesn't have that idea of going down and hitting a certain area. It just falls, and it's needed. Water is needed by us. We are almost all water, and without water, of course, we wouldn't last very long. But it has no intention on where it's going. And something fascinating about water is I heard that the amount of water that we actually have on the planet now, and in the atmosphere and the ocean and on land, and all that, is the same amount, almost exactly the same amount that was here thousands of years ago. I don't know how they calculate that, and so it evaporates, seemingly evaporates and is gone, but it goes up into the clouds and it comes back down. With our atmosphere the way it is designed, and hopefully it'll stay that way a little longer. It contains, the water, the moisture within the planet. And so I also heard something that about water is that like the water in it comes out of the tap in New York City has probably been through like 7 sets of kidneys by the time we drink it, but it's purified. So it's the same. It goes through this process again and again and again and again. But again, the water has no intention, and it has no idea of what it's supposed to be doing. It's just kind of free form. It falls, and it mingles with whatever it hits, and the moisture. We could kind of look at it as running into a tributary, and then into a river, and then into a lake, and then that lake eventually, the water ends up into the biggest body of water, probably the ocean. And then it evaporates, and it comes back down, and it does this whole system again without any complaining. I've never heard a drop of water complain. And it just seems so righteous. It serves such an important, such an important job, but it doesn't. Again, it doesn't have that agenda, and it doesn't have preference. It doesn't have. It doesn't have this this duality of like, this is where I should be, and as opposed to here. It just is. It's actually us, that dams up the rivers. The human that dams up the rivers, and maybe we're seeding the clouds. I don't know, and, to make rain. chemtrails, perhaps. Looking at Paul when I'm doing that, because. But it is kind of like the mind when we're lucky enough and fortunate enough to be in that presence in meditation, or we're just resting. You know, really no intention. It's almost like we're not serving a purpose, but although we are, and you know, we're resting in that presence, and every time we do that, we understand who we truly are. You know, as I mentioned, who we truly are beyond the thinking mind, but it's more than that. Who we are beyond our history, our story. You know, all of these different things that pull us out, you know, of this presence. You know, things that we identify with, and kind of strive to be or not to be. You know, hope to be and hope not to be. You know, these kinds of things. So the analogy of water is kind of very kind of soothing for me, and that you know, this came up during my meditation. Again, I wasn't trying to think about it or plan it, but it was just kind of a, you know, like a fast, you know, 3-minute, 2-minute thing, you know, imagining a water drop, you know, falling, and you know, if you could make a motion picture or a movie out of what happens to one water drop, how peaceful it is, you know, without this intention, you know, to go anywhere. And I think it's a good analogy for the mind. Any other analogies?
Well, to continue on with water, in the Zen tradition, it's called Wu Wei. So as the water is going down the stream, down a river, it bends around the rocks. It does not try to go through them or force itself. And so that degree of flexibility that we were speaking about as it was falling, you know, it just kind of goes with the flow, as they say.
Follows gravity. Yeah.
And with meditation, that's what I find. So when I have those distressing thoughts, you know, to observe them, notice them arise and fall, just let them go. Try not to make another story about the story that's already going on.
Right.
Because I'm great for that. Then there's that whole chain reaction, and before you know it, I'm in complete distress.
Literally going with the flow, you know, of water.
Well,
Yeah.
this meditation, I can rest assured that if I go back to the breath and follow the sensation moment by moment, the texture and the temperature as it goes from in the motion of in and out of my nose. I do the breath through the nose. It kind of brings me away from all that chatter, at least, and then I can kind of distance myself enough, or my awareness enough to let it go.
Yeah, that's great. I wonder if Joe heard that.
Might be sleeping.
Yeah. No, I don't think Joe's on. No. That's your son, you said?
Yes.
Oh, okay. Oh, Joe, if you're listening, that was your father, Joe. So that's the connection. Yeah. And then of course the analogy of water wearing away rock, is it's amazing. It wears rock smooth. Not it's not like one little, all these drops cling around the rock and say, we're going to just rub you smooth or anything like that. It's just like, they rush through and in many ways that water is more powerful than the stone because it changes the stones, changes the rock. And again, it's not the immediate intention, to smooth out stone that way, but it happens from the water. So it has power to it. And we see river rock at all the nurseries and things like that, how smooth it is from the water. And water also it has the ability to, I can't remember the term, I should, because I have a little bit of a nursery background, but it's able to pull, you know, the plants can pull it through their veins and nourish them. It's got a capillary ability. Yeah. And so it's a pretty amazing stuff. I don't know how we got in the water so much, but meditation, you know, we were talking about the benefits of it. And I think, you know, I think coming into that presence, again, for most people, and for myself anyway, is probably one of the most enticing, you know, aspects of meditation, because it's something that the Buddha said that was a non-worldly pleasure, and something that we should actually cultivate. He was careful, you know, to, you know, the Buddha said that desire is the root of all evil, basically. He said that our suffering comes from desire. And that is very broad, you know, desire for objects or desire for things to be a certain way. But he said that this desire is based on our worldly desires, the desires for the things out there to be different, or the things out there to be a certain way, or things to accumulate things out there. So it's like our senses connect with the world. But he said the joy that comes from meditation, you know, the joy from inside, that peacefulness and that presence, stillness, nowness, whatever we want to call it, is non-worldly. And he said that's the pleasure that we should actually be cultivating, because it's something that we can learn from. And you know, we can learn from it from the aspect of, hey, this is it, this is me, this is what's happening, you know, right now. And you know, it increases our compassion and our love for ourselves, and our gratitude, you know, for everything, for ourselves and for our world, and you know, just to be able to share that, you know, to have that. And so there is pleasures in life that we can seek, that we can go after. You know, it's kind of refreshing, you know, from a spiritual or Buddhist, you know, like from a Buddhist standpoint. And I think that's probably one of the better pleasures, or better benefits of meditation for myself. And of course, the result of that is the stress reduction and everything else, you know, that are more compounding benefits. The thing, some of you have heard me say this before, but I always had an interest in meditation ever since I was a little kid, and it was like, what kind of drew me to it, you know, when I think about it as a child, you know, it was, you know, as a child you're kind of full of adventure and like, wow, you know, what's going to happen next, you know? And it was kind of the supernatural phenomena. A lot of it isn't as true as I would have hoped it to be, but you know, the supernatural aspect of meditation, you know, like, you know, some of the old movies would dictate that these people are doing some supernatural things, you know, when they're meditating, and like they're doing self-hypnosis and building, you know, supernatural powers and things like that. A lot of it if you remember David Carradine and Kung Fu, you know, the Kung Fu shows and things like that. But ever since I was a little kid, you know, to see that long bearded, gray-haired guy in the robe that's up on the mountain meditating, probably surrounded by snow, you know, kind of perspiring, you know, just everything's perfect. And you know, it always intrigued me, like what's going through that person's mind, you know, why is he so special? And I'm here sitting in South Dakota, why is he, you know? I'm from South Dakota, that's why I said that. But anybody else? I'm kind of tired of talking here. Anybody else have?
Was Kung Fu Vipassana, you think?
No, actually, he was from Shaolin,
Okay.
a monastery. And Shaolin Monastery was started by, that's a good question. Shaolin Monastery was started by Bodhidharma, who came from India, took a boat to China, and he introduced China to Buddhism. And there's some wild stories about him. He went into a cave and reportedly meditated for, I think, 10 years. And he, in order, the story goes that he did not want to fall asleep, so he cut his eyelids off so that his eyes would stay open. And so when you see pictures of Bodhidharma, you've seen the monk with the kind of scraggly beard and these these eyes that are bulgy. What's the word? Bulging.
Yeah.
Bulging, you know, round eyes. That's Bodhidharma.
Hmm.
Highly revered in South Korea. I've never been in North Korea, but in South Korea, they have pictures of him everywhere.
Was he a Zen guy, or what was his tradition?
Yeah, well, he's Zen. Yeah, or Chinese Chan, which when it crossed the waters to Japan, it turned into Zen. Yeah, and a wonderful tradition. I mean, there's some wonderful teachings from Chan Buddhism.
So how is their meditation different from ours?
Well, I can't see that it is different, you know.
It's probably the breath thing.
Yeah, for the most part, you know, they use the breath, but they also use you know, different, you know, the same techniques that a lot of the Zen that they use in Zen, like koans. So your teacher might give you a koan, like, what is the sound of one hand clapping? And it's supposed to lead you into this this clear seeing, this understanding. That's just an example, but you know, it's almost like giving the student a riddle for them to work with, keeping their mind out of the gutter, so to speak, you know, to give them something to focus on. So, and there's different schools of Zen or a Chan Buddhism that some of them use malas, you know, to count the breaths and things like that. Sometimes they would use mantras and things, but pretty much, you know, the school of Chan was very philosophical compared to Theravada Buddhism, because it was kind of a mixture of Taoism at the same time. The Tao, you know, is kind of its own tradition, you know. And there's a mixture. At the time of the Buddha, there's a lot of great philosophical and very inspiring spiritual people that really made a difference in the world at that time, about 600 years ago. Very much like today. Yeah, I'm kind of kidding, but that but I mean, there's a lot of teachers out there today, and so a lot of them are very, very, very good. And yeah, we'll just leave it at that. A lot of teachers, a lot of people teaching. Anyway, I got kind of long-winded on there. Anybody have anything?
I've got one other water analogy that I like.
Yeah.
Well, I can't completely remember it, but it's to do with the non-self and the duality, and how we're all interdependent and connected and all that. And so it was along the lines of a swirl in the water, right? So the swirl is something that you can see, and it's pretty well defined, and it almost has edges, you know? So it's actually, there's this swirl that you can't take it out of the water, you know, it's completely different. Anyway, so I like the idea of a swirl that is, you know, kind of this.
Yeah, yeah. It's like an eddy.
These personalities, I mean, we have lots of things that seem to define us, you know?
Yeah.
But the swirl has things that seem to define it.
It's like it has a personality.
Yeah.
Yeah. But it's a part of the whole, though. I mean, it almost is a whole, but it's a part of the whole, you know. You can't have the eddy or the swirl, you know, without the body of water around it, because then it would just be a toilet, and you know. But we need that. We need everything to make it complete, and yeah, there's all sorts of analogies that we could come up with.
Oh, that's a good water analogy.
Yeah, yeah. Water's good. I mean, it's nice. We should have water, especially when you live in Arizona.
And then I'll mention another, I heard a quote, and I forget who it's from, but just earlier in the week. But I really liked it because boy, if I could remember this all the time, it's helpful. But the quote was, and I forget who said it, but those feelings of shame and guilt and anger and remorse, greet them at the door laughing, you know? Isn't that just awesome? Oh, just greet, you know, oh look,
Yeah.
there's shame again, where are you there? You know?
Yeah.
Good to see you. Yeah. Just rather than identifying with this stuff.
That's when we can learn from it.
Isn't it awesome?
Yeah. Yeah, that's when we can, if we greet it at the door, we're seeing it as some kind of teaching for us. Like it's an opportunity. Yeah, it's like the guy I used to work with that you'd say, you know, we got a problem. He'd go, all right. You know, it's like, what? You know, it's like he needed that stuff, you know, and he welcomed it. You know, it wasn't even fun to tell him that we had a problem anymore. It was like, yeah. Well, I thank everybody. I thank the streamers, whoever's left there, from everywhere from Canada. A lot of local streamers. They should be here. What the heck? But that's what we bargained for. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Looks like 6 or 7. Yeah. And then most of the people watch it afterwards. So thank you, streamers and viewers. Thank you, everybody, for coming.
Anyone from Sri Lanka?
Nobody from Sri Lanka. No. None of your brothers.
These fellow enlightened masters.
Thank you.